Hi, my name is Ryan Pistone from 3T Medical, and today we are going to be discussing EZ-TRAX, the surgical set customization trays from innovative sterilization technologies. So if you are like most healthcare facilities, you have probably at some point voiced your frustration over the number of trays required to perform total hips and knees. Regardless of the total joint vendor, it is not uncommon to open 6 to 8 vendor-specific trays per case. These trays, when combined with the standard instrumentation required like your basic ortho, your power equipment, and your surgeon specialty trays, add up. When you consider that most healthcare facilities are performing multiple total joints a day, you can see how the number of trays can become overwhelming for any sterile processing department, especially when you consider that every single one of these trays needs to be decontaminated, washed, inspected, packaged, sterilized, transported and/or stored, and then finally opened in the OR. This is where EZ-TRAX can help. EZ-TRAX trays were designed to be universal layouts for primary hip and knee instruments. So regardless of the total joint vendor, their instrumentation can be easily reconfigured to fit into EZ-TRAX simple, low-profile trays. This means you can go from 6 to 8 vendor trays to 3 EZ-TRAX trays. That type of efficiency impacts every step of the process and helps you save your facility time and money. So let's address the question, why are there so many trays in total joint sets? The simple answer is, total joint sets are not designed with sterile processing departments in mind. They are designed to meet the general needs of multiple surgeons and multiple surgical techniques. This is great in theory, but may lead to your total joint trays carrying unnecessary instrumentation that is never used. These unused instruments often lay in trays without ever being touched and take up valuable space. This type of tray design is what leads to an increase in the amount of trays required. Now, a few extra trays may not seem like a big deal, but when you begin to factor in the number of cases being performed at your facility every year, you can see how this adds up. Let's say your facility performs 40 total joints per month. If each one of these cases requires 8 vendor trays, you will need to process 320 trays throughout the month. However, if you reconfigure those instruments to fit into 3 EZ-TRAX trays, you are now only processing 120 trays per month. This means you are eliminating over 60% of the vendor trays that you process each month. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have probably already taken steps to cut down on your vendor trays. This is great. But we often find that these cut-down trays are heavy and disorganized. This disorganization can lead to confusion of where instruments actually live in the tray and can also lead to instruments being misplaced or lost. However, when you reconfigure your instruments to live in EZ-TRAX trays, you are still able to cut down on the number of trays that you need without sacrificing a need for an organized tray system in the OR. Now let's talk about where you will save time with EZ-TRAX. Time savings with EZ-TRAX will vary with each facility, but we can assure you that there will be significant time saved. To demonstrate this, let's imagine that your current vendor setup for a total knee is 7 trays, with one of these trays being double leveled. We then can assume that we can reconfigure the instruments from those 7 trays to fit into 3 single level EZ-TRAX trays. So let's start with decontamination and washing. Remember that we have 7 trays, but one is a double level. That means we technically have 8 levels of trays that we need to decontaminate and wash. With EZ-TRAX, you are working with 3 levels. This means you can load your EZ-TRAX trays into one washer load, versus the 2 to 3 loads with your current setup. This alone can save you over 1 hour with each one of your EZ-TRAX sets. So next, we need to inspect and package these trays. Now 3 EZ-TRAX trays are obviously going to take less time than 7 vendor trays. This becomes even quicker when you decide to place your trays in 1 tray containers instead of using blue wrap. Now for sterilization. Depending on the size of your sterilizer, you may have to run 1 to 2 loads to handle the 7 trays, versus the 1 load that you would need to run with EZ-TRAX. Additionally, when you decide to place your EZ-TRAX trays in 1 tray containers, You are able to eliminate the dry time and cool time that other packaging systems require. This means your one-tray containers are ready for the OR in approximately 25 minutes versus the 2 to 3 hours that Blue Wrap requires. Storing and transporting the trays becomes simpler with EZ-TRAX because of its smaller footprint. Finally, you will end up saving time and space in the OR. Fewer trays means more space on the back table. In fact, some facilities are even eliminating an entire back table. And now you only have to open 3 trays instead of 7. This can save you up to 5 minutes per case. So how do you decide what goes into your EZ-TRAX trays? EZ-TRAX configuration is a team effort. We recommend including a perioperative staff member who is familiar with the trays and the surgeons who use these trays, a sterile processing staff member to make sure the trays follow the hospital's policies, the vendor sales rep who will offer valuable insight into what instruments are needed, and finally, your EZ-TRAX rep, who will help guide you and your team through this process. Once your team is assembled, you will want to lay out all of the trays that you will be working with in front of you. Start pulling the instruments you will be using in every case. Keep in mind, you are attempting to cut down on instrumentation, so do not include the one-off instruments that you only use occasionally. You can make a backup tray to hold these types of instruments, and this can be opened as needed. Now it's time to place your instruments into your EZ-TRAX trays. Keep your specific workflow in mind when placing instruments within the tray, and group accordingly. Once the trays are completed, your sterile processing department can use EZ-TRAX QR code technology to create count sheets, upload pictures of the tray layouts, and store useful information like OEM cleaning instructions, technique guides, IFUs, and any personalized notes required for the sets. Remember, the great thing about EZ-TRAX is that if you want to change something or swap out an instrument, you can with ease. Just always remember to follow your hospital's protocol when doing so. So what are the economics around EZ-TRAX? We can assure you, EZ-TRAX will save you money. The real questions then are how soon will you begin to save money and how much money can you save? Let's say you are currently processing on average 150 vendor trays per week, so about 600 trays per month. And each one of these trays costs you $60 per tray to process. That would mean you are currently spending around $36,000 per month to process your vendor trays, and about $432,000 per year. With EZ-TRAX, we are able to cut down those 150 trays by 50%. This means we are now only having to process 75 trays per week and 300 trays per month. You are now only spending $18,000 per month and $216,000 per year. That's a savings of $216,000 each year. The fact is, EZ-TRAX directly addresses the issues created by the volume of vendor trays. Its universal design gives you the ability to streamline your vendor sets and create a whole new level of efficiency. Are you ready to start? Schedule a call with your EZ-TRAX rep today.